Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Decisions Lunch and Learn. I'm going to be your host for today, Gregory Goldston, on this Wednesday, July the 30th, almost at the end of the month here. Let's go over the stuff on the right. Decisions Support YouTube channel. It's actually going to be Decisions-Training, so I'll make sure that gets updated over there. But it's going to contain all the same videos as before, which includes previous lunch and learns, a bunch of how-tos, overviews of the platform, how to mess with the settings XMLs to get the results that you're looking for, SMTP settings, and all sorts of stuff that I'm not going to have the time to list here. So I highly recommend taking a look there if you want to see how previous questions were answered on Lunch and Learns, or if you're trying to look to do something specific in the platform. We got videos there. Below that, we got our Decision Solutions Marketplace. That's going to contain a bunch of accelerator projects that you can pull into your environment for free. And what these do is they provide, one, an outline of how to perform a particular task or process in decisions, such as a loan calculator. Two, it gives you something that you can reverse engineer to understand how this functions. And three, it gives you something that you can take parts of that you may want to implement into your own project and do so. So, highly recommend taking a look at that. And then below that, we have our Decisions Product Roadmap Review. This is going to be a set of meetings that is going to give you information and sneak peeks at the stuff that is coming into the product in the future. You can sign up for those meetings at decisions.com/events. Speaking of stuff you can sign up for at decisions.com/events, we have Submerse coming up August 11th through the 13th. That's going to be a Monday through a Wednesday, 9 to 5. We are going to be hosting an online Submerse that you can sign up for, which we will walk through a project. You will be able to get a product training certification by attending and doing all of the stuff for all 3 days. And that allows you to understand the project from the ground up, how Decisions works, all the flow designers, as well as some additional details. So if you're looking to get a crash course on Decisions, how it functions, and then give yourself a foundation that you can build off of, highly recommend signing up for that. So with all that being said, I'm going to move over to my decisions environment now, and we're going to get started with your questions. We have a pre-submitted question already, so we're going to start off there, and then we'll address everyone else's. So give me a moment while I navigate to my decisions environment. There we go. We'll use the same project from last Wednesday's LNL. And I'm going to pull up my list of Q&A, and I'm going to pull up my list of participants real quick. And we're going to start off with Marvin with his two pre-submitted questions. So the first question, and give me just a moment. Let me let you talk here. All right. Where did it go? Here we go. All right. So our first pre-submitted question is, can you give a brief discussion on the raw SQL step? Depending on the situation, I know there's a much better options. The generic result is appealing though. So Marvin, let's talk about the raw SQL step. So let's just make a flow for that right now. The raw SQL step, for anyone that is watching, allows you to perform a SQL query against a specified database in Decisions. Oops, I picked the wrong one, the raw SQL step. There we go. What you do is you select a connection, either the current connection that you have to your Decisions database, that is the one that Decisions is installed against, a custom connection that you have created, or an external database that, once again, you've created. I haven't made an external database yet. I just have the local connection. That's why you don't see anything here. But regardless of which one you pick, this allows you to pass in a SQL command either via the merge text editor if you want to pass in values there, or you can pass in a SQL statement from your flow data. Now, notice that when I add a raw SQL step, my health score goes down. Use of the raw SQL step exposes your flow to many risks and is difficult for non-developers to understand and maintain. Please consider using a defined query which creates a self-contained flow step. So, what is the difference here? Well, defined query, first of all, is going to be more performant than the raw SQL step. In fact, there are 3 alternatives to the raw SQL step depending on what you're trying to do. If you are looking to run a specified query continually, that is, you can run it over and over again, and you want to be able to change the variables that are coming in, a query integration is going to be more performant for that action. I'll go over how to set up one in a moment, but let me just go over all these. If instead you're using a query to perform basic CRUD actions where you're going to either create, you're going to update, you're going to delete, or you're going to revise any sort of information in your database. So that is, are you performing a selective update? Are you performing a create? Are you performing a delete? Are you performing a update, right? Any of those stuff. Then creating a table integration is more performant. When you create table integration, you get predefined steps that can perform these actions for you. And then if you are trying to use a raw SQL step to execute a procedure in your database, we would recommend a procedure integration for the same reasons. It's more performant. Now, let me talk about the time where you may want to use a raw SQL step. In all the cases I've mentioned, it is better to do the other ones. The only time to my knowledge, where the raw SQL step would be preferable to the other ones is if the entire query is fetched from some external source at runtime and you have no idea what the query is going to be. If you're just passing in variables, it's better to do one of the R3 integrations. If you have a query that's going to perform update tasks, any CRUD actions, it's better to perform one of the other integrations. They're going to be more performant and they're going to be more user-friendly because you will get to see exactly what the step does with its description, with its name that you give it inside of here. Now, I'm going to make one so that you can see how to perform these yourself. What you'll want to do is you'll want to go to Manage Integrations and then go to Databases. If you don't have a connection already, you create one. Now, I'm going to create a connection name. This will be my local. In all honesty, I have no idea if I'm not 100% sure what this database name is, but we can check it right over here. We go to About. We are on Decisions 9.13. That's the name of my database. All right. Pardon me for a moment while I set this up. Give me just a... Oh, wait. No, we just use local connection. So if I don't have a connection right here, we use local connection. And the way that we do that is we'll go to Create Data Types, go to Database Integration. Here's a table integration for your CRUD actions. Here's your procedure integration to kick off a procedure in Decisions. And then here is your query integration to create a query. I'll use the local connection. And then I'm going to do a basic query. Select all from entity underscore account. You would just specify what table. And I can provide a where clause where email address equals. And then if I go over here and add a parameter, I'm going to call this my email. All right. It's a type string. The default value will be admin@decisions.com. So it will always return that result when you don't pass in a variable. And then I'm going to put that in here by using an @ symbol. So at my email. All right. Now, when I run this, I'm not going to get any results back. I'm not sure if I spelled that correctly. Well, I thought I did. I thought I added that. There it is. There's my admin account. So the reason I would add in such a variable, and you can add multiple parameters to this, is so that if I wanted to use a SQL step, I do need to give it a name. Fetch specified account. It doesn't like spaces in this. We'll save that. Pardon me while this saves. Then we can go back into our raw SQL flow. We would go to all steps. We're going to go under integration, database, select the connection that you've created. I use the local connection, but if you created an integration to another database, you would select that. And then I've hit run query, the one that I just named fetch specified account. And what this will do is it allows me to, one, limit my results. I don't really want to, but I'll just put 1,000. And then for my email, I would specify that variable from my flow that's going to act as a filter in my where clause. So Marvin, are there any questions as far as either setting this up or the difference between using this and the raw SQL step?
Right. I understand the differences in the two. The majority of the time are I only considered using the raw SQL step for a select. some basic selects, nothing of significance, major significance. And I understand where, the other options are much better. If the raw SQL step is that, what's the word I'm looking for, is not a suggested option, why have it?
Because there are certain things that you can only do with the raw SQL step. Like I was talking about here, if you have a query that comes in at runtime that is
Okay.
built by some logic, you
Okay.
can't create these steps on the
Okay.
fly, right? You could
Okay.
pass that in here.
True. Okay.
Yep. So in most cases, like you're mentioning, when it's just basic SQL queries, the others are better. But for more advanced configurations,
Sure.
this would be needed.
Sure.
So, going on to the second question that you had here, as far as you said you found it frustrating sometimes when executing the SQL has removed a space in the syntax, causing an error. Um, and is this through text merge? I'm not aware of this
Yes. And I
issue.
don't know, and I was sitting here thinking about this a while ago. I don't know if I had maybe the where clause on a separate line and it didn't recognize the return character
Oh,
as
so yeah,
space.
it wouldn't
I
treat
don't
the
know that
line
if
break
that's
as a space.
right. I don't know if that was the scenario or not, but I just know there was one or two times where I knew I had put a space in there, but yet when you looked at the SQL that was executed, there was no space in the error message.
Interesting.
And I just found when I put everything on the same line, all on one line, which is not always good either,
Right.
um, that it worked fine.
Interesting.
I mean, I even pulled in a parameter here, maybe from flow data or something,
Hmm.
like an email address or something, whatever it might be.
Right, right. You got your custom query integration. Yeah, that I will be upfront. That does sound like a support question because that's not something that I know of as a common breaking change or breaking error in decisions.
Right.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need someone to look in your environment to figure out exactly what it is.
It's
Because
not a
it.
major deal. I found a work, got around it at the time.
Mhm.
But I just wanted to hear some conversation because I did watch several of the videos, and then they kept steering you toward using the your predefined stuff. But I was just wanted to hear some feedback on the raw SQL step itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, the raw SQL step does it is pretty powerful. It can do a lot because of that power. It has a high performance impact. I know everything here is talking about like it's not user friendly, it's where is it in the health score over here? Yeah. It
Right.
has many risks, difficult for non-developers to understand. The reason they say that is because people will literally just pass in like a constant inside of here and just make it one long extended text, right? And if someone doesn't know SQL, then yeah, you're working more
Yeah.
directly with it here. I get that. But it honestly, the main reason for not using it is simply the performance impacts.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree. If it's executions of SQL on a day-to-day basis, I get that too. This was for validation of upload data that might get run once or twice a month at most.
Okay.
It's not like it's a heavy hitter type scenario.
Right. I get you. Absolutely. Then yeah,
Okay.
that would be fine. Again, I just personally I have done some stuff actually with this step. I actually am working on content with this step as well. So the others are preferred, but this isn't going to break your environment. It's just
Right.
there are better options. That's all I got to say about that.
Sure. And that's all I was looking for. Appreciate
Mm.
it.
All right. Grant, I'm going to address your question real quick. Just because it's a follow-up this, how do you do a procedure or table integration? It's basically the exact same way you set up a query integration. So what you do is you go to create data types and integrations, go to database integration. Here I clicked add query. You would click either add table or procedure. Now, let me show you procedure first because this one's a little bit quicker. Procedure, you specify your connection. And all it can do is it can pick a procedure to execute that's already created inside of the database. It cannot create procedures in the database. That's not what this does. All right. So if you have a procedure created in your database, you can give this some default values. You can rename it if you want. You can run it to test and then save it. And then once it's saved, this gets added as a step that you can use in the flow designer. So you can execute that procedure on your database by just having your flow hit that step. For the table integration, that one is not difficult, but there's more involved with it. Same thing, database integration, table integration, select your connection, and then you specify a table that's in your database. I'm going to go to the same entity account table as before, just to compare how this is different from the query integration on the same table. So I'm going to click on this one, and you're going to see a list of all of the different fields available in this table, their type in the database, if they allow null values, and then whether or not they are the primary key of that database table. Now, if you are connecting to a database that does not have a primary key, you're only going to get access to two steps, the fetch all and the count. It's not going to have a way to distinguish unique structures, unique entries from one another, unless it has a primary key it can search on, right? So that's why you'll only get access to these two steps. Otherwise, if you do have a primary key, you can then fetch by ID. You can check if a particular entity exists at that ID. You can insert an entity, that's your create step. You can update an entity. You can perform an insert or update, and you can perform a delete. If I give this a save real quick, this is going to be found in a very similar section to where we found our query integration inside of the flow designer. So under our all steps, integration, go to our database because it's a database integration. Select whichever database you made that integration against. Again, I only have local connection on my local right here, but if you've added another one, you would do that. Before we click the run query, however, you'll see that there is now a table, entity account table. When I drop that down, I get access to all those actions we were talking about before, right? Bulk insert, update, insert to entity. This is the same as your create step. Insert, pass in the list of objects. I'm going to build an array of that, or I can pass in a single one, right? Where'd it go? Bulk insert for multiple objects at once. If I were to pass in a list of these, you could do a list mapping editor to map those correctly. How did you show? I'll come back to that one, Marvin. Let me address Helmet. He's been patiently waiting while we've addressed this question and the follow-up. So I'll come back to that one in just a moment. Yep, Grant, absolutely. All right, Helmet. First question. Is it possible to create a case entity and have it begin in a state that is not the initial state set in the config folder? No. Okay. Yes and no. Let me let you talk real quick. So I'm going to create a case entity real quick and we'll talk about. Hey, yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I tested it out and I could see that that was the case, and you can immediately change the state, right after you create it, just by fetching the folder and then changing the state using the state or set state entities thing. That just makes it so you can't really utilize the trigger flows on that first state, right? But I guess it doesn't matter because it's like,
Right. Yeah. Let me talk about that a little bit. Actually, that's important to note is that whatever the initial state is the one that's farthest to the left. Doesn't matter what it's called. Yep. It starts in that state, and you have to be very careful with trying to put trigger flows in this first state. I think there should be like something in the health score that warns you about this as well.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because The moment the entity is created, it will kick off that state. Even
Right.
if the entity doesn't have all of its information updated in the database yet, which
Yeah.
means if you're trying to fetch that information in that first state, it's not going to work, right? Or it may not work. I can't say for guarantee. You know, maybe it gets updated in time, maybe it doesn't.
Right.
But that's not a kind of game that you want to play with a prod environment. So
But you could set like a pre-state, basically.
exactly,
A fake
exactly.
first state. Yeah, I got you.
Yep. So that everything gets passed in here, everything gets created, and then the moment you set the entity state to the next one, then it kicks off all the activities.
Okay.
And it's
Understood.
and it's very easy to do because
not a
again, it's
problem.
just whatever one's to the left. So if I wanted to call this pre-state, I could just move this all the way to the left, and then ta-da, I preserve all my trigger flows, and now all my entities start in this state instead.
Gotcha. Okay. Easy one. Got time for my second one?
Absolutely. Separate question. I have a dashboard that displays case entities. It also has the folder activity panel. How do I use the selection bus to have users select from the report and then see the folder activity when they select? That is a great question. Let's set up that right now. We've got a case entity, so let's make some of them so we can test this, right? So create cases. Let's go over here. Let's go to all steps, user defined case entity, helmet case, and then we're going to create. Drag that on. Let's build some extension data, and we are going to pass in an age. We'll just update this 25. That sounds good. Why not? And then give a name. I'll give my name. I'm not 25, actually. I'm older than that, but still, why not? Name, age. I think those are the only two that we created here. Yep. So ignore folder description. Folder name's kind of important. They can all be the same though. So my entity. And then parent folder ID. I do need somewhere that I'm going to put this case that I create. We can just put it in our default. You know, I actually don't like that. I kind of want a folder that we can see these in. So give me a moment. Create folder. House cases. Create that. All right, now I've got somewhere I can put it. Where did it create cases? Go over here. And we will change this to house cases. All right. Now let's just run this a few times with some different data. There's one. We'll update this. And why not 35? Let's pick another name from the training team. I have no idea if that's true. And then let's debug this. And then who else is in here? We're just going to keep going up by fives. All right, cool. All right, we got 3 cases made. Save that. And now we're going to create that page that you're talking about, right? So folder progress. I apologize to anyone who I have misaged in this. I probably should put something like favorite color. I normally opt for that. So folder activity panel, we will slide that to the right. Default and sequential terms. Okay, yeah. All right. And then initially enable initial value view. All right, let's make sure that we have this configured correctly. So get folder ID from the selection bus. The selection bus name we're going to pass out from here most likely. So I'm just going to call this my ID. I want it something unique. All right. So I'm going to say my ID. And now let's go to our particular. Oh, not accounts report. Whoops, we're going to create a new one. This will be our case report. Add. Where'd it go? User defined types, case entity, helmet case. And then where's our name and age? I know they're alphabetized. Name, age, and then we're also going to add the folder ID, all right? So this folder ID is what needs to be passed out, right? Because it's looking for that selection. We want to send data as a filter change, and that filter change has to be my ID, right? So that gets sent out. So let's save this. This should function, if I recall. Let's give this a try. Save it, exit, add it to a public folder, create folder, add page. There we go. Pick our page, folder progress. Let's see if this works. If it doesn't, let's. Oh. You know what? It doesn't really help that they're all in the same state now, does it? So let's change that real quick. We're going to change this last one to completed. Yep, there we go. Look at that. That's what updates it now. So you're sending out that folder ID. Now, this is kind of ugly to the end user.
You could hide it easy.
Of course, exactly. We just edit this, we go over here, and then we'll just get rid of that.
So then is there any way to like differentiate between clicking on it and it having, select the bus versus, I think you clicked on it and then you get a drop down. Was that right? Yeah, this page.
Yeah, so that's on the actually report settings on how we want to handle actions when users click on this report. I'll show you that real quick. It's grid view, I want to say. Or is it? Let me check. Is there a grid view image? Grid settings type. Where is it? Specify. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. So change grid settings type to specified. The left click action was showing the slider, right? Instead, let's say I don't want to take an action when I left click it instead. And then right click is going to show me actions. So I'll save this. It still lets me select it, right? But it's not going to actually show that anymore.
Yeah. And then can you show me one more time the configuration you set on the folder ID column, just so I can make sure that I've got that?
Absolutely. So what we do over here is selection bus. We have to make sure it's something unique over here.
Right.
And this, I did my ID. By the way, this is case sensitive. So keep that in mind as well. So my ID, I recommend don't doing spaces because what's actually happening is it's fetching this from the URL. Here, I'll back out of this real quick. So you guys can actually see that up there. So whenever I refresh this and I click on this particular entity, notice that my ID gets updated up here, right? Every time I click on it, that's going to change. And I know it's kind of small. I know it's a little difficult to see, but that's what's going on is this number next to my ID is changing. This is fetching this information from this URL, and this report is passing it into the URL by sending it as the filter change source. So again, the way that we would do that is that we go into the property itself. That is the field itself that we want. We scroll down and check this box that says send data as filter change source. And then we pass in whatever that name is we gave to the selection bus.
I got it. Sweet. Okay, cool. I have other questions if you get through the other ones and you want to come back. So
absolutely. With how the pacing's going today, I have a feeling we're probably going to end a bit early. So things are looking good for that.
Cool.
Let's move on. Yeah, of course. Let's move on to Vitali's question. Also, let me make this bigger here again, easier to see. All right, Vitali's question is, if you have a database stored type and somewhere you create an object of that type, but not saving it, at which point is it get its ID generated? The ID does not get generated until you're saving the object, Vitali. Here, let me allow you to talk. So the ID should not be generated for anything that is basically being treated as a flow structure, right? Something that is not database saved.
Okay. Then the next question would be, at some point, if I generate two objects, why would I get the same ID? So
why would you get the same idea?
Kind of like a duplicate.
Let me think about this. So you're getting the same ID when you generate two objects. Are you talking about the unique identifier, or are you talking about something like a case ID?
No, unique decisions ID.
Unique identifier with the decisions case ID.
It's not a case, it's just
not
database.
Case ID. Sorry. Yeah, with the ID passed in. There are two different possibilities I can think of that would do that. The first is that ID is being passed in as a constant or somewhere from flow data, because you can pass that in within a create step.
Not that.
That's not getting passed in. Okay.
No, I just create structure, create object without ID, and I hope that it will get unique ID when I save that.
All right. And the object is a decisions type, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It
It's
should create a unique
simple
ID.
database type.
Simple database type. Okay. So we have a simple database type that's getting created. We'll start one over here. Learn from last time. We're going with name and favorite color. And then structure name. Let's put that structure. And now if we were to save this, we're going to get access into our flow. We're just going to alter create cases. We don't need this one anymore. So let's go to all steps, user defined, our database structures, Vitali structure, and then we'll do a create. Okay. So you're creating an item, you're building data on this, you're not passing in an ID here.
Right. Yep.
And you're saying that you're getting duplicate structures?
The duplicate IDs at some point. So for example, if in this case, I create like a thing and then down like a subflow, I create another thing, I do see that they have duplicate IDs, these unique IDs.
You're creating an object here, and in a subflow, you're creating another object. That's what's happening?
Right. And at the end, when these all things are completed, I'm trying to save them and I'm getting duplicate IDs.
Wait, how are you creating it without saving it? Are you talking about...
Oh, sorry, you just create data.
You're using create data to create the object,
of
and then
this
you're
type.
creating data for another of the same object, and then you're using something like a batch insert to put them both in?
I'm just using for each. So I'm creating a list of these things that I have created, and if I decide to save them, then I use create.
Okay, let's try it. See if we can recreate this behavior. All right, we'll pass in some constants here. I'll put in my name, and I do like Cobalt a lot, so we'll be doing that. And then we have a structure that will get created post that. Let's get rid of that. Then we have a subflow. We'll create a new one, create second object. Quick question. Are you creating both of them inside of the subflow or outside of the subflow? Like when you're saving them?
Yeah, I'm saving them outside of the subflow. So
All right, saving them outside of the subflow. Okay. And are these objects, do they have the same fields except for ID, or are they different?
they are the same objects, the same type. I mean,
Same type. I get same type. Let me clarify what I'm saying real quick. Hold on. Oh, the
if
values.
you
Are the values the same except for the ID?
if you create data, I create that data of that VT structure.
Yep. I don't want to call that name anymore. You make an object like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then are these values the same as the ones on the outside of the subflow?
No.
No.
There
Okay.
are different values, but they, for some reason, they get in the same ID when I save them.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure I'm setting up the test correctly. That's all I'm trying to do. And then let's reconfigure this one real quick. Okay. And then we have a for each element that is looping through and creating each one. I think batch insert would be a bit more performant anyways, but still, let's try and recreate this. Create structure, next. And then how are you passing the list? Are you like building an array here? Like,
I'm building array as I go through my flows. So basically, it's a lot of sub flows, and I decide, do I want to keep that in list? Do I want to remove that from list? Then I output a list of things, and then for each of those, I create a thing.
okay. All right, that's cool. Just want to make sure we're doing this right. All right, let's do an add items to list step. The original list, we're going to hold on, we're gonna cheat real quick. Give us a moment. New list, change value of new list. Now disconnect. And voila, just like that. Ah, okay, it doesn't work outside the loop. That's fine. Okay, I'll just initialize it here. All right, and that's just going to be blank right now. And now let's add items to that list. Okay, new items, we'll build array on that. We'll pass in from our flow data two. I don't think the order really matters here. We'll add another one, and then let's pass in one. Okay, for each step iterates on new list, which is the one that got added on the output. Item to create is going to be this. We'll pick that flow data item, pass that in, finish our loop, and then put it out to the done step. So let's debug this now. The IDs are different when I run it this way.
Right. And what if when you create a first item,
Okay.
then you pass that item into a subflow, you change some field and create a new item based of that.
Okay.
And so kind of using like a first item as a template.
Okay,
But
sounds good. Okay, so that'll be an input to this. We'll pass in the first one. And then the second one is going to alter different fields on that, and output is something else, right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's not split string. What am I thinking? Join. Okay, so our separator is going to be an underscore, and our source is going to be a build array. And what we're going to do is we're going to take object one's favorite color, and then we're going to add another favorite color to it from a constant. We'll say green. And now that's going to output the join strings, which we're going to use to change the value of the original favorite color of object one. Oh, sorry. We're not going to change value. Sorry. We're going to rename, and this will be new color. All right. And then new color is what we're going to use to pass into our particular favorite color for part two. So you're manipulating data in this sort of way, right? So I took a field from field one, I altered it, and I passed it into field two.
Not exactly.
How
Can
are
you
you
create
manipulating the fields then?
Can you create a copy of object one
Sure.
and then use, for example, rename it and
Okay, so this will be object. I'm going to call it object one. It's going to be of our type over here, Vitali structure. Save that. So object one, and then we're going to pass in from flow data one, object one, and we're going to use that to output object two.
Now, if you use mapping data and say assign something to this one, you can name it whatever you want. You can say, yeah, it's object two, and assign something to object two, something different from object one.
Assign something different to object two.
Yeah, so basically it's not gonna, I mean, you, at the end of the day, you will have two objects because you create copy of that, right?
Right.
But when you create data, when you use like when you actually save it to database, they in my case they are being assigned the same ID because because I copied them.
Okay. So we've got object one. We got object two from it. We're passing out object two, which is a copy of object one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this one. I'm going to delete this one as well. Uncheck that box just to make sure. Pass out object two. So object two is a copy of object one. Maybe they are the same. Perhaps these can be the same. So what is this? This will be one. This will be two, which comes out of our subflow. Let's see if this creates the error. Ah, yep, it is getting assigned. Look at that. Interesting.
So basically they are not copying, they are just kind of like a pointers into the memory, right?
Perhaps, yeah. So it is getting created at runtime prior to the actual saving to the database when you're making a copy of that object. Okay.
So from my standpoint, they are looking like duplicates, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying now. Now I'm curious about something here real quick. Hold on. Curious if we get the same behavior with a different way that it inserts entities instead of using a for each. Give me just a moment. It may not, but now I'm curious. Flow data, new list. No, they are the same. Look at that. Okay.
So even if you, for object two, if you change some data, they will still get the same ID, right?
It seems like it. So it looks like you would need to map everything in to create object two rather than actually passing in object one itself. Because that's what we did the first time, right? We could map in some data, but
okay,
yeah, that would be the workaround then.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, interesting. I'm going to look into that more and figure out what exactly is going on in the back end there. It's a good question. All right. So with all that being said, Marvin, let's come back to your second question here. How did you show what database you were using? I didn't see what was clicked to generate a center screen pop-up. Oh, okay. All right, hold on. What database I was using for this right here? Okay. I think this is answering your question. You have the ability to talk, by the way. But
I was muted. Sorry.
oh, you're good.
I know you have the option in the system gear thing, but I thought you had clicked something up in the top right hand side somewhere or something.
I did. So there are system integrations that you can declare dependencies on and add other databases to. This is where a local connection comes from. But each project can have its own by going under manage, integrations, databases.
Right. But what there was a pop-up in the middle of the screen with several pieces of information, like 7 or 8 pieces of information. I don't remember what all was on there.
Let's see. Was it under create connection? These?
No, it was just like a pop-up read-only information.
Oh, yes. So if you go under your account over here and click
Ah.
about, you can see all of that information.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yep, current version, portal-based URL, where the file
Right.
storage location is, and the current database name. I mean, you can do some other stuff too, but honestly, I feel like these are the most important. Oh,
Right.
and for us old support members, database type.
Yes.
Yep, that's where you find that.
Okay.
All right, so I do not see any more questions, and we have not had anyone else enter since we have started. So I'll give it the good old going once.
I had one more.
Oh,
If
yes,
it's okay.
that's right. Yeah. What is your follow-up question, Helmet? My bad.
So more on the dashboard stuff. So I'm playing around with making a diagram flow. So you know, I'm gonna have case entities with multiple different types of states. You know, I'm planning on doing diagrams and tiles and stuff, but I just wanted to see if you could run me through like how to create a simple like ring diagram or pie chart that would say, okay, you have 3 in this state and 1 in this state and 2 in this state.
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, let me specify something here real quick. Let me search up diagram. Yeah. All right. There's something called a diagram tile. All right.
Which, yeah.
A diagram is not the same as a chart. They sound familiar. Charts act very different than diagrams.
That's what I've been seeing.
Yep. Diagrams are an old legacy portion of decisions. They still function, but these are not the current standard by which people are building things.
Gotcha.
When you create a diagram tile, you're basically creating a flow using annotation steps and then passing information in order to custom create that diagram.
Yeah.
If you are looking to just group things on a simple diagram, such as a pie chart or a ring chart or anything like that, this would not be the step to use. All right. So let's go over those other ones. First of all, let's go to our case report over here, because this is the one that we're actually looking at, right? I'm going to add another field on here, state. All right. And then we have a completed and 2 pre-states. If you're trying to add any chart to a system, not diagram, any chart to a system, you must group on at least one field. It is required. That way it knows how it groups the information together on your chart. So the way to do that, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger.
And by group, do you mean set the report to show as grouped by default, or just say this state field can be grouped by?
Group by default.
Okay.
So I'm going to click this little group button right here, and now it's grouped by state.
Gotcha.
Yep. So you can source this from a different report if you don't want it to be the same one on your report viewer. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, you're not required to use that one on the report viewer. Yeah. So I'm going to group it by state. And now that it's grouped by state, I'm going to exit. And now I have the ability to add a chart. I believe it's under reports. Yeah, reports.
And you just clicked
charts.
Can group in that field?
Can group was already enabled for me.
Yeah.
Here, I'll click on the field itself.
It is
State.
by,
Can group was already enabled. All I did was click these 3 squares and that grouped it.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's all you need to do for that. So now that's grouped on state. Our pie chart's going to be separated by state by default, all right, as far as a count of how many are in each state. So I'm going to drag a pie chart. Let's do a ring chart, actually. I'm going to drag a ring chart over, and we are going to first pick the report that's sourcing it. We're going to pick our case report. You'll see the series, the count by state. So that is how many there are in each state. If we wanted to change how that is, if it's an average of a state, if it's the total of, a certain amount, like maybe you have a decimal field instead, and you want the actual sum, of each in each decimal field rather than the count, you could update that in the report. But what we need to do here is we do need to give this a name. It doesn't have to be displayed. You can hide it, but it does need a name. And now after that is done, let's go check our page because this doesn't show in preview. You can't see charts in preview. So we'll go to public. Really? Okay. Okay then. Hold on. Give me a moment. Let me log back in. Just decided it didn't want me in there anymore. All right. Lovely. There we go. Okay. Let's go back into our Wednesday LNL over here. Public folders, test. All right. And now we have 2 in the pre-state and 1 in completed.
All right, sorry, show me one more time where you connected the report to the ring.
Absolutely. So what we do, and I'm just going to go and edit page data real
Yeah, that's
quick.
fine. Yeah,
So we can do it from here. All right. So this is our pie chart right here, or a ring chart, whatever sort of chart you're using. You pick the report that's sourcing it. All right.
Use report subtotals. Oh, okay.
Yep. And then if I wanted something, if I wanted the sum of the ages in each one instead, what I can do is I can go to results. I can go to subtotals. Instead of count, I want the sum. All right. And I want the sum of the field age. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to exit out of this. And now it doesn't update automatically, but now I have a different way that I can group my pie chart.
Oh, I see.
Yep. So what this will do instead. So this is
so you could
right.
use the same report to output different representations to different diagrams.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So now if I hit save on this, I think I need to give this a refresh actually. So let me click on folder view. Yep. So now this is 80, right? We've summed 35 and 45, and this is 25.
Okay. I think I have also been successful. Yes, sir. I have. Sweet. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure thing. Absolutely. Yeah. Let us know if you need anything else with that.
I'll be in here. I'll be in here. Don't worry about it.
Cool. All right. I haven't seen any more questions posted since that. So I think this will be actually the real time that we'll wrap up.
Sounds good.
Thank you all very much for attending. It looks like Jeremy's going to lead it tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing y'all then. I'll be in there too. So, till later.